If you haven't seen the movie yet, then what the hell are you doing here watching this video?
You clicked on this voluntarily.
Shame.
Because you wanted spoilers and you haven't seen it yet.
Shame.
Where's the bell?
The bell?
You can't go shame without the bell.
Oh.
All right,
Just use a sound effect right here.
I don't have the sound effect.
You can do it.
I'm
later.
cutting it on
you
a
can do it later.
Okay, shame! That was just our way of getting rid of those people who wanted spoilers, even though they haven't seen it yet. Though, given the box office as it's just been reported,
There's not going to be very many people out there who haven't seen it yet at this point.
at this point it's just pretty much people watching this just to see if they agree with what we have to say.
Yeah, basically.
Which is fine, because that's part of the fun of these.
Yeah.
And yes,
If you agree with us, great. If not, that's great too.
I'm actually going to be kind of fascinated about people with dissenting opinions on this one, because this one has been affecting people on a pretty, I want to say primal level.
Yeah, I've already spoken to people who have dissenting opinions.
Here's the thing, this is actually one of the few where I can't deny people are going to have some pretty intense emotions about it.
Sam Falco.
You might remember him from Rare Delicacies, Turbo Kid.
Turbo Kid.
Yes, I've seen Infinity War about 3 times now, pretty much 3 days in a row. So it was one of those ones where I just, first time around I was like, I had to really kind of telegraph or read what I was seeing, or just come to terms with everything. Because when I went to work the next morning, I still felt like I had the crap beat out of me.
Yeah, it's a rough viewing.
But it's the kind of rough viewing that I don't mind putting myself through.
No, it's the kind of rough viewing that everybody needs.
Yeah,
it's the reason people go to dominatrixes.
Kinda. Yeah. For the pleasurable yet painful experience.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. We're not even joking.
No, it's just funny to say it that way, but it's pretty accurate. It's that type of...
I wonder if that's what Disney intended when they agreed. We need
to create a family-safe dominatrix experience?
Yes! I think that's exactly what this is.
Yeah, maybe.
I think, you know what? I could see the press blurb, our cut of casserole, the closest to a family-friendly dominatrix experience, right at the bottom of the DVD. How was your viewing experience when you went to go see it?
My viewing experience was... Let's see. I definitely went in with some expectations for the movie. They were met, but they also weren't met. I assumed that the movie would be a lot more in the same style as the previous Avengers films, which we were going to have like the big team-ups and all that stuff, and there was going to be at some point the tropes of Avengers, which was, you know, the long tracking shot where we showed each of the heroes fighting in tandem and all that stuff, and then the big team-up thing where they all are standing together and all that stuff. I thought those things were going to be in there. But I was pleasantly surprised to see that they were not, because this is a very different kind of film than the other Avengers movies.
One could probably surmise that it may have something to do with the Russos directing it
Oh,
this
absolutely.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, they did that in Civil War. So they did the big thing, like, where everybody's standing together, and then we have the heroes fighting each other in that case. But there was a very clear creative choice to not do that, because this is not a unification movie.
Yeah.
This is, in any sense of the word, it's completely about ripping the fabric of not only the Avengers, but the entire Marvel Universe apart at the seams, and then burning the seams.
The way this one ended up turning out at the very end, this is all the consequences of them being ripped apart.
Yeah.
Because it stands to reason, if they had been united as they should have been, do you think this may have gone differently?
I think that if they had been united, it actually would have probably resulted in them all fighting to the death, and I don't think there would have been half of them left standing. Yeah, well, obviously it's all conjecture.
I think it's safe to say there's still only probably less than half of them standing now.
No, I'm saying because it's literally half of them. But you know what I mean, though. I think if they were all united, I think they would have continued to fight on until they were all dead. My experience watching the movie, obviously, it was a gut punch. When we finally get to that ending part, especially Peter Parker's
death, that was hard.
My God, like
that
just
was hard.
That thing in movies always gets me. Like when you're watching like World War II movies, or like apparently these movies too, where someone's like impotently pleading to not die and saying they want to go home and stuff like that. Like just for some reason, that always gets me more than any other kind of like death scene. And when you got somebody like Tom Holland, who, if it was anybody else, he would have faded into the background among all these other characters. But, like, he knew exactly who his character was in this movie, and every single line of dialogue he spoke, it just, like, he's like, hey, everybody, like, he's in the background, and you notice him all the time.
Having this very joyful, innocent kid who's really kind of enthusiastic in lieu of the horrible things going around.
Yeah.
It's kind of like representative of all the kids who have that kind of gee whiz mentality of superhero movies.
Is.
And then at that very end, getting sucker punched with cold, cruel reality of the situation. Meanwhile, you've got Tony, who
was feels responsible for
because he was the surrogate father to him. When we see him in this movie, the first thing he's talking about is having a kid with Pepper.
Yep.
I mean,
and I would assume that his experiences with Peter in Homecoming were what led him to that point, because he takes on this fathership kind of figure, and he frequently throughout that movie references the fact that he feels like he's responsible for him, and he makes jokes about being his father figure and how I sound just like my dad. Like, I've turned into my dad anyway. And then, like, you're like, dude, you're pretending you don't want this responsibility, but it sounds like you really do. Because he kind of likes being a father figure to Peter, even if he's disappointed in him at times.
And when you really think about it, he is kind of the right kind of father figure for someone like Peter Parker.
Absolutely, because you have to have somebody who's intellectually on his level.
On his level, but also the same enthusiasm for what they do.
Or at one time had that, because I don't think he is anymore.
There is
he's burned out.
There is a part of you that does realize, he's kind of burned out, and it is kind of cool that they tied in his traumas from the very first Avengers movie. I love the fact they still carried through with that.
Yeah.
And
he's still making excuses about the arc reactor and everything. Yeah. No, this is just temporary. I can take this off if I wanted to.
Okay.
Like, can you though?
Here's something that's kind of cracking me up about the fact that he did that, because you got to remember the technology of Black Panther's suit.
Yeah.
In the movie, how all the nanites are inside the claws on the necklace. It cracks me up the notion that Tony is still kind of creeping behind Wakandan technology, and even when he achieves it on a more cruder level compared to what they're able to achieve with it.
Yeah, they have had a considerable head start on all of them. And they point that out frequently. They actually pointed it out in this movie, she's like, why didn't you just do it this way? And he's like, we didn't.
Because we didn't think about it.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for that scene where Shuri just completely owns Tony, but at the same time, but at this point,
wasn't time right now.
It's the timing is not good. Well, right when the credits rolled, I mean, what were you? How's the theater?
As we were getting through that scene where everybody's fading into dust and everything, I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be the end of the movie. And it seems like everybody around me was slowly coming to that conclusion as well. Yeah. And then when the screen goes black, I'm like, that's it. And everybody around me is like, and then the Russo brothers credit comes up, and they're like, "What? No!" And I'm just like, "What are you guys surprised about? Like, it's been building up for like the last 20 minutes."
Well, even me walking in knew that it was not going to end well, because especially if you've read the Infinity Gauntlet story, this actually does happen in the story. He does do that, and practically half the Marvel universe just disappears.
Yeah, I've gotten the understanding that the people that are seeing these movies generally are not even the people who read the comics.
Yeah.
Like, it's mostly people who are just fans of the superhero movie fad that's going on right now.
I think, well, at the same time, though, I'm kind of happy about that, because...
Yeah, me too.
Because, in the same way how I'm happy how so many people jumped onto Doctor Who with the new series and how some went back and watched the old series, same mentality where they'll watch this and then go, I gotta start reading these comics.
Oh, absolutely. It's gateway stuff for kids, because the kids come in and watch
beyond
movies,
kids beyond kids for everybody. I mean, I didn't start.
The kids are the future to.
That is true. That
anyway.
is true. That is true. The interesting thing about this movie, I said this in my spoiler free. If you notice, this one actually had the narrative structure of a grand omnibus trade paperback.
Yes.
Where actually it seemed like it lingered on plot threads. Like, it actually had nice juicy bulks.
Yeah.
Focused entirely on it. And I looked at this going, especially after my second and third view, and I was like, this really feels like every single scene feels like one issue.
Yeah, and I love that.
This is about as close to the comic book experience I think a movie's ever gotten.
You get a little trade paperback.
Yeah,
it has a story arc in it, and that's what it is.
The whole first 10 minutes leading up to Banner crashing into the Sanctum Sanctorum, that felt to me like issue 1.
Yeah.
Right there. And I was like, that's actually...
I would say even end issue 1 with looking down into the hole.
No, that's exactly what I mean.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Right before the title card jumps up. And I'm like, that... And for all of Marvel's efforts, I don't think I've ever noticed that they made it feel like an actual genuine comic book experience before. I think in this case, they had to do it that way.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
There are so many plot threads that are happening all at once. And by necessity, it had to.
Absolutely. Because it's like... I'm not really a fan of how much of this is going on in comic books right now, but the big crossover events where you have to read like 6 books to get the whole thing.
Exactly.
It seemed like that whole thing because even more so than the other Avengers movies did, because this one they're not all together.
Yeah. And one of the best solutions, of course, people were concerned about how many characters were thrown in here and how are you going to get some good character moments if there's so many characters. Well, what they did, just let the characters
interact with each other
and just let the characters' depth grow organically from there. While it seems easy, just throw them all together. No, they had to pick the right characters at the right time to interact with each other. And that's why it was kind of brilliant putting Iron Man with Doctor Strange, which I admit was always a crossover I always wanted to see, because let's face it, that's
Sherlock.
No, actually, that too, admittedly, because of the inevitable conflict between science and superstition, which was alluded to when Doctor Strange first stumbled upon this world. But it would just be hilarious to see someone who's very techno-minded all of a sudden having to butt heads with someone who's very spiritually minded.
It's pretty clear that he dislikes Tony, not just because Tony is a douchebag, to quote Doctor Strange himself, but it's also that he sees a lot of himself in Tony.
Yeah.
Because he sees a very brilliant guy who's restricted by his own personal prejudices about how the world works and what exists within the universe.
Whereas Doctor Strange is a person who had those prejudices, but then had his mind just completely expanded.
Beaten out of him, basically.
So, in a way, all these criticisms that we may have levied towards movies, especially like Doctor Strange, where it did get criticisms for having similarities to Iron Man,
it makes sense, though.
It's funny. It seems to me like Marvel does seem to plan these things far out in advance and probably notices these similarities, but knows that down the line...
I'd say is probably a happy accident kind of situation.
Serendipitous?
Because the characters themselves are very similar anyways, and you've got 2 good actors like Benedict Cumberbatch and Robert Downey Jr. playing them, and when you put them together, if you have a good writer, they're going to be like, oh, well, duh. And then they just fit together that way. So I don't think they planned it out that elaborately. I think it's just sort of that Marvel has this great world that they use, and it just fits together so perfectly that way sometimes.
Tony always seems to go on the offensive when it comes to anyone he meets, because the first thing he does with Thor is instead of floating down to say, "Oh, is your brother? Okay, let's talk about this." No, boom.
Then don't take my stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's just seems to be his reaction.
It's the rich boy mentality. He's got this sense of entitlement going on about everything.
I have a plan. Attack.
Yeah.
And that just seems to always be the leitmotif of his.
That's a great plan, except it sucks. So.
Hey, says the person who got emo and decided to completely screw the pooch. But here's the wacky.
It's understandable.
That's the sad part, is that we can't blame him for, because here he was thinking he had every opportunity to save him, and in situations like this, you always think they're going to save him, and no, finds out that he didn't even have remotely the chance of saving him.
Yep.
But even worse, to find out that even Thanos was not happy with this arrangement either, and that's even worse, is the fact that Star-Lord just can't handle the fact that even Thanos didn't like the situation either.
Yeah. Thanos feels like if he feels it, it hurts him, and he knows it for a fact because Mantis tells him, and she can't be wrong.
And Thanos says, "I had no choice," or he said, and Quill said, "Yes, you did."
Yeah,
there was always a choice.
Yeah, because that's almost what his dad said.
Yeah.
So it flares up those feelings.
Yeah. But then we got Cap, Scarlet Witch, all of them on their side of it. The one thing I noticed is that Cap, Black Widow, Falcon, they seem to just be more helping out Scarlet Witch and Vision. It was kind of refreshing to see that Scarlet Witch and Vision seem to be the real core focus in that particular plot thread.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they definitely deserve that.
Because even though they did get some nice juicy scenes in Civil War, it was really refreshing to see that their whole thread starts off strictly with them, and the fact that it's all about doing their best to try to keep them together and try to find any other way possible to keep them from dying. I wasn't sad so much that they didn't focus on Cap and all his conflicts, because...
Well, I think, again, that was a strategic choice, too, because if you notice, by the end of the movie, what we're left with is the original 6 Avengers, and for the most part...
And Rocket.
And
War Machine.
Right. No, I'm saying, who didn't get much focus are the people that are left alive at the end. The people that we follow the entire movie are the ones who died. Thor and Rocket got their plot threads, and they're still around. Tony had a little bit going on, but most of that was in relation to other people.
Yeah, and also in relation to his fears regarding Thanos.
Right, and
so
Tony's going to be a big. Obviously, Tony's going to be a big part of it. He's somehow going to be the key to them being victorious in the end, because that's why.
Yeah,
Doctor Strange
well, that's
the
one.
Time Stone.
Yeah, the Thor and Rocket subplot, I think, was the only one that I think did kind of kill the pace every now and then when they kept revisiting it. There was a payoff, but because it paid off in the end, I didn't mind so much.
I actually enjoyed that quite a bit, and I think it was a tactical choice because you had to figure out a way to get inside Thor's head and figure out what was going on with him, and you have to do that by having him talk to somebody else, because it's not a comic book. You can't have a thought bubble pop up. But it also establishes Rocket's mentality throughout this whole thing too, because now that Peter's gone, like, they made the jokes about him being the captain, but now that Peter's gone, who's left?
He's very self-absorbed.
Yeah.
And has never really had, even in the first scene in Infinity War, his priority is not about saving people. It's it's pretty much all about
gonna steal their ship.
Gonna steal their ship.
Yeah.
Shit and ship.
Yeah,
their ship. It is actually gonna be awesome to see Rocket actually having to come to terms with the fact that his entire surrogate family is gone.
Yeah.
And
except for Nebula, and he didn't even like her.
Yeah. That's actually that was the other thing I gotta say I really love is they gave Nebula some good juicy stuff to work with. In the brief span that she's in there, they give her such good stuff.
Again, though,
to work with.
I think she's going to be a big part of the next one.
Which is
honestly, I'm going to say it. I think that she's going to end up with the Gauntlet at some point.
Which is actually what happens in the comic.
Oh yeah, it is.
It does.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh no,
I completely forgot about that.
Just because our natural love for Karen Gillan aside, I love the fact that she gets more play. But the fact that Nebula, who was started out in the first Guardians as just a henchperson character, and got such good meat on Volume 2, the fact that it seems like they're going to give her a lot more to do.
Yeah, well, they really hammered home in this one the fact that she's never really, like, Thanos probably never considered her a daughter like he considered Gamora. She was a playmate or a plaything for Gamora.
It was cold when he said, I didn't want to waste the parts.
Yeah.
I was like, that is just freaking cold. Yeah. And that is just... I genuinely was fearful for Nebula when he first see her, and I gotta say the camera reveal where you thought that she was just floating, but then the camera pans around to see that she's actually being pulled apart.
I'm optical illusion. I love that.
I love it when they do that.
There's a lot of people who criticize superhero movies for just being mindless popcorn flicks, but honestly, you're gonna look at that scene and tell me with that kind of shot, this optical illusion thing that is a beautifully choreographed scene. I don't care that it's CGI, okay? Just the idea that somebody took the time to sit down and come up with that shot. You're going to tell me that there's not artistic creativity going on.
Another shot I thought was gorgeous was after he sacrifices Gamora, that gorgeous shot where it looks like he's just floating in space, when in reality, no, it looks like he's floating in water.
Yeah.
There were times where I was just hypnotized by just conceptual shots, and the fact that, and the best part is this is the kind of story where you're allowed to get fanciful with some shots, because a lot of this is a personal journey for a villain that in most other movies they would make him out to be,
he's just pure evil, one note kind of things.
This is a guy who has every single reason to believe everything he believes and why he believes everything he is doing right,
because he's seen himself proven right, and he thinks that he can project that onto a cosmic scale. And Thanos, he told the people on Titan that this was going to happen. They said, no, get the fuck out of here. And then all of a sudden, it happened.
In their pursuits to circumvent these incidents happening, they don't realize that
they're making it worse.
Not only are they making it worse, but they're basically becoming the very thing that they...
Right. In Thanos' case, though, I think he knows that. And I think he takes that on.
It's that final shot. It's the final shot of the movie where his
post-genocide cabin?
Yeah. Well, actually, that in itself is a recreation of the final frames of the Infinity Gauntlet story, where he's sitting there just in this very humble cabin on a distant planet, just looking outwards, just realizing, I done screwed up. And
that they... Again, because you can't have a thought bubble, you have that little moment with Gamora, baby Gamora, where she's like, what did it cost? Everything.
Yeah. Here's another thing about, it didn't occur to me until the third time I saw it. The skies in that bit was orange. That was the Soul Stone.
You think he went inside the stone?
Yeah, I think like in that instant went into the Soul Stone and
oh, you mean to talk to Gamora?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I noticed that.
Yeah, we never really figured out what the hell the Soul Stone does. All the other stones, we knew what they did. because we've seen them firsthand of what they do, but the Soul Gem was the only one we never ever saw what it did, and now we realize this is what it probably does.
Yeah. There's all kinds of articles about, Marvel has a villain problem. It doesn't have a villain problem.
See,
the villain serves the purpose of the story, just like the characters serve the purpose of the story. And when you say maybe he can't be called a villain, no, he can be. Because what a villain is supposed to be is not just somebody, it's not... The word villain doesn't mean that it's a black and white, he's evil, there's no motivation, he just wants to kill for the sake of killing, wants power for the sake of power. That's not what that means. That's an antagonist.
Yeah. Actually...
a villain is a well-rounded character.
Actually, it was well said, and I think this definitely is applicable in this case. The villain is the hero of their own story.
Exactly. And in this movie,
precisely
that's
what
exactly
Thanos is. It's funny, because he's basically Sam Jackson's character from Kingsman.
Yeah, basically.
That is exactly what he is, minus the comedic lisp and the gangsta hat.
Yeah.
That image alone.
Ooh. You're going to put it in, aren't you?
That's the thing about me. A lot of people complain about pacing, and I'm like, yeah, pacing can be an issue if it doesn't have a real good intention behind it. I think that's why I'm even though I've cracked jokes at Anthony Minghella's films, like Talented Mr. Ripley or The English Patient, because why do you move at that pace? But then I come to think about these movies moved at any kind of a faster pace than this. You feel like something would be lost if you didn't do
you're rushing it too much. We wouldn't have gotten all the character moments. We wouldn't have gotten the really deep connection that you have to the story and everything that's going on in it.
Exactly. Pacing is important, but
it forces you to pay attention.
Yeah, but simultaneously, though, you can't go too fast, otherwise you lose something. You can't go too slow, otherwise
you lose everything.
Or not so much you lose everything, it's just like this, what you may have may not be enough to justify the pacing.
Yeah.
You could have a paper-thin story, but if you spread it out over a 3-hour span, people are going to go, you're saying in 20 words what you only needed to say in 5.
Yeah.
But this movie needed to be 2 hours and 40 minutes because...
just because there's so many moving parts. You need to take a look at all of them.
Exactly.
And when it comes to Rocket and Thor, and even Groot to a certain extent, because he's learning to be Groot again, essentially.
Yeah,
he's dead by the end, but he's going to come back. The ending of Thor Ragnarok into this, there were some people who were complaining about the change in pace. And Jackie actually was telling me that she read an interview where they were talking about how Chris Hemsworth actually fought for maintaining the integrity of what they had built up in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
The humorous stuff like that. But it's not like it's jokes for the sake of jokes, because Thor is at a point now where he's just so burned out on everything that it's like a you have to laugh to keep from crying kind of thing, because he's just losing everything little
Very
by
gradually,
little, and until he's got nothing. Now all he's got is this axe that he can use to kill the guy who took everything from him.
Well, actually, here's something that did make me happy that they did acknowledge this, because there was a very grievous absence of certain characters who they took the time to establish in Ragnarok. Valkyrie, Korg, and Meek. He said half of Asgard got destroyed.
Yes.
Which tells me that prior to this, I wouldn't be surprised if Valkyrie, Korg, and Meek probably, tried to rush out as many people as possible to get on escape pods to get them out, while Thor, Hulk, Heimdall, Loki, and all them were holding, trying to help fight back.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're still out there.
Oh yeah, somewhere. I'm sure that they are.
See,
and Thanos he only kills half, so he probably let him go.
That is true. That is true. So there you go. Valkyrie is still alive.
Yeah, of course. They wouldn't have killed her off screen.
She is way too awesome.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say she might be the next Thor.
That might be cool.
It's a sense of continuity in that he's still losing stuff little by little, and he's still making jokes when he has nothing left. It's just a continuation of the story we've been seeing this whole time. It's this we've seen Thor in this character arc that's gone across 6 different movies. Because every single time we see him, he's experiencing something that contributes to who he is as a person.
He's been hanging out with humans. He's seen the universe. What he wanted to do at the end of Dark World was to go out, help other people, go out and see the universe, and do what he wants to do what he needs to do.
Yeah.
And this is him, much more experienced, much more worldly.
He knows what's going on with the universe, and it's not quite what he was expecting it to be.
The one bit of hope that he may have had at the end of Ragnarok is the fact that Asgard survives. So he at least was able to walk away with that. But then
Thanos took that away.
It's a very important journey for Thor.
Absolutely.
I'd say
that's why I didn't find that part in the movie to be unnecessary. I didn't find it to be
I
boring.
didn't say it was unnecessary.
No, not you. Other people.
I'm just saying it moved at a pace that didn't complement the rest of the other story threads. That was my thing. But even then, I'm not going to begrudge it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that was the one that...
Because they slowed things down every time Thanos came on screen.
Yeah.
Except for the fights, obviously. But whenever they were like, oh, what's Thanos?
Oddly enough, I was okay with Thanos just because, once again, you want to see more of Thanos because that's what we've been building up to.
Yeah.
And especially for 6 years, we've been building up to him, so we want to take our time with Thanos.
Absolutely, yeah.
Whereas with Thor, Rocket, Groot, and big little Peter Dinklage. So I suppose, especially talking about all the losses Thor suffered, let's talk about all the losses we suffered. Starting with the one, and you know what? Marvel had the balls to do this. Walking Dead, why don't you have the balls to kill the character that's going to sell you the most merchandise? They killed Loki in the first 10 minutes, and I loved how the advertising made it out like Loki was going to play a bigger role. Actually, a good thing to talk about before we get into the depths is how much of it that we predicted, A, came true, and B, did not come true. On my side, I did predict Loki would die, but I thought it would be more of a case that Thanos would be pissed that in order to get the Space Stone, Loki accidentally lost him the Mind Stone. And I figured, you still failed me, dude. For all intents and purposes. You cost me one Infinity Stone just so I could get a hold of this one. I was supposed to have two by your promises, but so I was surprised and delighted to discover that the way Loki died in this case actually complemented his arc from Ragnarok.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And there were people that I know who were saying to me, "Oh, he's going to betray Thor again, and it's going to backfire." I'm like, I don't think so, guys. Did you not watch the end of Thor Ragnarok?
Yeah.
I knew he was going to try to save Thor, and that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, he was actually going to use his gifts as the God of Mischief to save the day, but unfortunately blew up in his face.
Because everyone throws everything they got at Thanos, and they just can't stop him.
So that was my other big thing. My other prediction, which I said in my Black Panther spoiler review, I thought the Soul Stone was in the heart of Wakanda.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. But then again, I was completely oblivious to what the whole thread with Vision was going to be. So I didn't even think the notion that the Mind Stone was going to be in Wakanda.
Yeah, because they kind of left it ambiguous as to how many stones Thanos has at what points in the movie with the trailer.
Well,
they even bold-faced lie because they cut the red stone out of the gauntlet.
I know, no, they did. Yeah, they cut they cut all four of the Time Stone, all of them out of there in the Wakanda scenes.
Yeah,
and I was like, nicely done.
Yeah,
nicely done. Completely messed with our expectations.
Usually, like it's hard. It's a fine line to walk to because if you start lying in the trailers, you can get into Rogue One territory.
Well, Rogue One has a very justifiable reason why they had to lie.
I mean, to a certain extent, they didn't have to.
Well, it's not a matter of them having to. It's a matter of the fact that, unfortunately, because of all the reshoots they did on it.
Yeah.
Trailers were already out when they were doing reshoots.
Because if you see the stones in his glove, you're going to be like, okay, well, I know what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas we can pretty much predict the two stones he's going to have the easiest time getting.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I love that they completely they just take it on faith. Yeah, he destroyed Xandar to get the Power Stone.
Okay, so actually I thought about this too. We see Xandar getting screwed up in Guardians 2.
Yeah, actually that one really got hit hard.
Ego's plan rips apart Xandar, so like they're probably in chaos. I would imagine Thanos probably swoops in and gets the stone.
But I'm just happy that they just didn't dwell on that. It gave us credit for Instinct just going, yeah, that would have been the first one you'd have gone to because despite efforts of the Nova Corps, obviously.
Yeah.
He probably would have had no problem busting in and taking that thing.
Yeah, especially since he's in all-out assault mode now.
Mm-hmm.
Because we saw in the post-credits for, what was it?
Age of Ultron?
Was it Age of Ultron?
Where he said, fine, I'll do it myself. Yeah.
I'll do it myself.
Yeah, that was Age of Ultron.
Yeah, he's in all-out assault mode
So
now.
that would have been the easiest one for him to get a hold of.
Yeah. I wonder when he got the Reality Stone.
Just grabbed it when he grabbed it.
Yeah.
And probably did all that, like what you saw him do, probably like a couple hours before they even showed up.
Yeah, it was still burning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, but no, Tobias Funke did not burn up, though.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. The Russos had to fit in their Arrested Development reference.
Had to. And I saw it in the theater, I was like, you know, that's funny. That looks like from Arrested Development.
Looks like Tobias.
And then the ending comes in, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. That was really supposed to be him.
Yes. You, before we started shooting, were very self-satisfied about a certain character returning.
Yes, I was.
I've always wanted some kind of closure on it, but I didn't have any kind of real speculation apart from he got sent off somewhere. When I saw it, I was like, jumped up out of my seat because
Yeah.
I was like, I figured it was going to happen at some point. I just didn't think it was going to happen now.
Right.
And the best part is, it's just one of those things that it could have been anybody, but I'm really glad that it was Red Skull.
I'm willing to believe that originally it wasn't going to be Red Skull. And they're like, probably even on set they may have thought of it and were like, oh, we should make it Red Skull.
And I was oddly okay with this.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
I had a similar reaction too when the hooded guy, I'm like, and then he starts speaking and I'm like,
it's like,
and then they show the red face, I'm like, it's complete and utter fan service that fits perfectly into the story.
It's just one of those things that just seems to work, and it works with the character.
Yeah.
It just meshed perfectly. Hell, it'd be kind of cool if Marvel decided to just release like kind of a
prelude, yeah,
a prelude, or just even done a single issue, just entirely chronicling his whole path after that.
That was the Russos being like, we hear you guys.
Yeah. Well, not just them, but also Marcus and McFeely, which. The screenwriters,
right?
I got to give them I mean, I was already giving them props for how well they balanced Civil War.
Task,
but man, damn, did they make this one work? This is the one that we were all thinking, how the hell are you going to make this work? Civil War, there is a way, but by God, how did they do it in this one? But
yeah,
and well, the solution, like we said earlier, just to have
compartmentalization.
Yeah. But they wrote the first Avenger as well, so there was probably something lingering in the back of their heads, like going, we probably should answer this question.
Yeah, maybe. Actually, now that you mentioned that, though, maybe it was supposed to be Red Skull in the script all along.
Maybe
because they're like, oh, we got it back now. We'll close down the thing they never closed down.
Yeah. So that was just a wonderful thing to have.
Nice little cherry on top, guys.
And
thank you, Russo brothers.
Thank you, Russos. Thank you, Marcus and McFeely. Another character who got a lot of good play in this was Gamora herself.
Yeah.
Zoe Saldana really got to play up every single scene she was in. She got a lot of nice meat.
Yeah.
This time around, and I love that it was a good payoff of every
turmoil.
Yeah, a lot of good
turmoil is acting candy.
Exactly, and. Actually, I think it was one of the major reasons I love Guardians 2 was the fact that we got a lot of good moments between her and Nebula, and I love the fact that all that paid off in this one.
And will continue to pay off in the next one.
Yeah, well, especially with Nebula. I mean,
she's gonna bring her back, and she's gonna be like, I won.
Nebula would be that level of inappropriate, but if they,
I don't think that's inappropriate. I think that's very much a sister thing.
Yeah, it was good that even though she pretty much gets dispatched like halfway through the movie, the scenes that Gamora's in are still between her scenes with Quill.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll say the scene where Thanos is begging her to I was like,
because Thanos knew he wasn't going to let it happen the whole time, but like neither of them knew it, and he was just watching it play out, and it's like that's another thing where you're like, there's artistic creativity going on in these movies, because not only do we have a scene where the bad guy is like, go ahead, good guy, kill your loved one. No, he's also playing like the disapproving dad thing.
Yeah.
He's like, oh.
And the fact that...
The boyfriend. And you're like...
And here he was going, he's not going to pull the trigger. And Peter, to his credit as a character, keeps his promise, pulls the trigger.
Yeah.
And then Thanos goes, I like him.
I like you. Yeah.
Credit to the screenwriters. Somehow, some way, they were able to fit in the trope of the disapproving boyfriend, girlfriend's father trope. And yet, they made it demented. They made it scary, and they made it
true to the characters.
Yeah,
all of them at the same time,
everywhere. So, and I gotta say, the thing that also worked, and the best thing about that scene is that you don't even think about the possibility that he's using the Reality Stone against him in that moment, because they
they lie and say he doesn't have it.
Well, because they killed Loki. No, by this point you knew he had it. But
sorry.
No, my point is, because they kill Loki and Heimdall in the dead beginning. There's this immediate sense of anything goes, and that anything can happen at any moment. So for all we knew, this could have been the moment where Gamora dies. Mm-hmm. There was this feeling like Quill's going to do it, and I was like, Quill could do it because Gamora made him promise.
Yeah.
And Quill's the kind of guy who would probably keep that. I kept going like this could happen.
Yeah.
Because most of the times we're going, it's not going to happen.
Actually, I'm going to chalk that up as a thing that I wasn't expecting, because I didn't expect him to be able to... I didn't think he would be able to do it.
Yeah, because we've always seen the trope of, you're not going to pull the trigger.
Not just the trope, I honestly didn't think Peter had the fortitude to do that. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that he could, because he's had too many loved ones die.
Yeah, well, hell, and even people he thought was going to be his loved ones turned out to be the people who killed his loved ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and...
He's had too much of that pain happen, but like it's a true testament to how far he's come as a character.
Exactly.
To where he finally did bring himself to do that thing because he promised he would. I just thought of something too. That moment where he starts like punching, like he might be punching himself a little bit too, because he did make that call. He was going to kill Gamora for the greater good.
Yeah.
And Thanos, he thinks it's for the greater good to kill Gamora.
Yeah.
And it hurts him too. So Peter's like, oh my God, you're me, and I hate you for it.
And even worse is the fact that he just held back Drax from doing this at nowhere. And here he is now finally feeling that level of pain that he felt regarding Thanos, and now he's doing it. And that's kind of a scary juxtaposition in itself. And even...
Because you see that little hint of dark side in him in Guardians 2 where he gets all that power. A little bit of it.
A little bit of it.
No, they didn't really dwell on it, which was fine, I guess. But I would have liked to see a little bit more of that in Guardians 2. But I love that movie. It's
we
still
did
my
get
favorite
we did get clear for Guardians 3, so we might see a lot of it there.
I think Guardians 3 is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy: The Search for Gamora.
Like we said in the Infinity Gauntlet story, this does happen where a lot of the characters get phased out of reality, but then as it all ends, a lot of them come back.
Yeah. Marvel is fluid enough that they can change things
They're at a point
to react to what happens in different movies.
They're at a point now where they can
Yeah.
make all these choices, where they can do that. Because
hell, they could literally, at this point, because they've built up this world, they could do no more solo movies at all and have enough gas in the tank to keep going for another 10 years with just crossover movies, Marvel team-up movies.
Hell, they're already kind of leaning in that direction with stuff like Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Where they had Hulk, Thor, and friggin' Valkyrie. So they could lean in that direction.
It's not a guaranteed thing that every one of them is going to come back and make it to the ending credits of the next movie.
I'm kind of optimistic at the very least all the ones who have been phased out will be fine.
Yeah.
But all the ones who died prior to it, I'm optimistic Loki is pretty much dead.
So, here's the thing. Because Gamora died in the process of conjuring an Infinity Stone, she's clearly inside the Soul Stone.
Alright, so...
That's the thing that's tormenting him now, because that's his punishment for taking that power. Gamora's inside there, and she's gonna be with him. So just because her body's dead doesn't mean you can't... If you get the gauntlet, doesn't mean you can't pop her back in.
Alternatively, though, it's cool they made the Search for Spock parallel
that's
to
what
it.
I was thinking,
For all we know, that after maybe all said and done, maybe Gamora gets reincarnated.
Actually, it could be a thing.
It could be a reincarnation type deal where maybe as a child she's restored back to her home planet and just allowed to have a normal life for a change.
I think that her storyline with Nebula makes that less likely, because I think that if Nebula gets the gauntlet, like she probably will, for her to not bring her back, I think that would be disingenuous to the character. I think that at this point, because of all the resolution that's happened between those two sisters, here's one of two things that I think could happen. Number one, most likely, because they want to keep these characters in future Guardians movies and then the MCU in general. Nebula will bring her back as the Gamora we know, reinstate her so that she's alive again.
Yeah.
Could happen.
Could happen.
Or she could hit the reset button on a lot of things and put both of them as children again so they can have a life as normal sisters.
Which would be oddly poetic. I kind of I would like that.
Right. So either way, I think that they could go one of those two routes.
Yeah.
I think the former is more likely, just because this is a movie series we're doing and we want to keep these characters around. If Gamora gets the Time Stone, she could have it be where they get to live their entire lives together, and we also get them back at the end.
It could go anywhere, and I think that was definitely the best thing about this movie. Was like most times with Marvel movies, by the end of it, you always get some kind of like hint of what could come in the future. This is like one of the few where you're just like,
well, we kind of got that because Nick Fury pages
Captain Marvel. That goes without saying. We knew Captain Marvel was coming. So I guess in closing, really, I think we've made it abundantly clear that this. I mean, for the 10-year anniversary of the MCU, for everything that what a lot of people probably were expecting for this movie, and just how people are reacting to it, this is kind of what let's face it, this is kind of what we wanted out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's for a lot of people making this out to be like the Empire Strikes Back or even Back to the Future Part 2. In the sense that it leaves you with this... I would even say The Last Jedi of the MCU, in the sense that it leaves you with this sense of what the hell's going to happen next, because everything just changed.
Yeah. What comes next is Obviously, Last Jedi is a little bit more open-ended because we don't know anything about that's going to happen. We're completely uncharted territory. But with Marvel, we know there's more movies planned.
We still don't know. They have not announced whether that's going to be another solo Iron Man movie or another solo Cap movie.
Oh, no. If we're talking about Cap and Iron Man, I think the reason they kept people who they did alive is because Endgame is going to be their Endgame. Mm-hmm. I think whether Cap dies or not, I think that's going to be his last outing as Cap. Yeah. I think that Tony's either going to die or he's not going to be Iron Man anymore. Actually, Shuri should be Iron Man next. That'd be cool.
Shuri should. That would be...
If they brought back that kid from Iron Man 3, I'd be fine with it too.
Oh, Harley.
Yeah.
If they did an Iron Man 4 prior to this, it would have been kind of cool if they alluded to maybe, say, Riri Williams or something. Would have been kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Because she's an awesome character, so I wouldn't have said no to that.
Yeah.
There for all the faults of what Marvel's been doing in their comics recently, there is a lot of good that has been coming from it, such as Kamala Khan, America Chavez, and Riri Williams. There's been a lot of good that has been coming from it.
Yeah.
I've even heard rumors about that. Another reason they did Ant-Man and the Wasp when they're doing it is because this may be the last time we see Cassie as a little girl. When Scott gets back, it may be years down the line.
Oh.
And that we might be seeing that while they were gone, we're seeing the next generation of Avengers pop up. And what does Cassie become? She becomes Stature. She basically takes up the mantle. But I'm hearing rumors about that they're going to jump into they might do a jump into the future. And it turns out a lot of characters who were left behind got older. Another thing that also happens in other installments, in Black Panther's absence, Shuri takes up the mantle of Black Panther.
She might have to, yeah.
She would have to, because unfortunately she is next in line for the throne. So that means she would have had to take it up.
Yep.
So that's good speculation right there. That's some juicy speculation. She hit big with people after Black Panther.
Well, that's why I think that there might be some credence to her becoming... Mm-hmm. And again, like, for her to become Black Panther, I think that might be... like, you have... If you're going to get rid of a Black Panther, you're going to replace him with... Oh, it's his younger sister now? Like, great. No, like, I thought it would be cool and kind of, like, merge the world a bit better if now we're doing... Mm-hmm. Overlapping. Like, maybe she doesn't want to be Black Panther. Maybe she would prefer to be Iron Man.
When they do the inevitable Black Panther sequel... And T'Challa comes back, and now comes back to find Shuri has taken up the mantle as well.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a whole... That right there is grounds for a really strong sequel.
It is, yeah.
So that if they are going the route they're going, where they're jumping ahead further in time to see a lot of people who were younger, more older, more mature. I kind of like the idea of seeing Scott now having to deal with the fact that his teenage daughter, who he's been an absentee, or his daughter who he only knew as a little girl, for reasons is now a teenage woman, and he wasn't there for a lot of it. That would be cool if they do this. There's so much pay dirt that if this is the route they go with Phase 4, I would be totally for it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
And that would be a logical next stepping stone, because you're kind of doing the elements with all the Marvel movies. You're doing the superheroes, the space stuff, and then you're doing the magic stuff, and now you're going to do the time travel stuff.
Yeah. So, I just hope they don't do it so much that it makes things too complicated. That's always the problem with doing reboots.
Right, yeah.
Or why Marvel has now recently again been forced to reboot the whole damn thing, because now you have to forget everything that happened before just so you can focus on this. It's like, I hope they don't get that level of convoluted.
Yeah. I didn't think we'd get this far with Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was a huge risk, and Marvel has been taking risks, and it's been paying off.
And if there's anything that's a testament to the risks that they're willing to take, I think Infinity War, especially the way this ended, the way people walked out of the theater with this just look of like they've just been accosted.
Yeah.
I think this is a testament to what people now realize, yes, they are taking risks.
Yeah.
And they... At the same time, they have the things that we love about them that we want to be mainstays. Like, we like the humor, we like the snarky character interactions, but deep down, we want to get hit.
We want emotion.
Yeah, we want to get sucker punched, and
that's never been something that's lacking in the Marvel movies.
Yeah. So we could go on all day really talking about Infinity War. Happily, but frankly, I think this energy could be spent maybe talking about the MCU in general. Maybe.
Next episode.
For more addictive content on Narcotic Casserole, simply like, share, subscribe. Click Thou Shalt Be Served. And for more content from my good friend Sam Falco, here's the link to his channel, Sam Falco.
Search for my name.
Just search for his name, Sam Falco.
Yes. Okay.
Was it because of tiny giant Peter Dinklage?
But that didn't hurt.
It didn't hurt though.
No, I think that
Is this gonna be the thing with every single video we do at your house that
Yeah.
you're gonna be the disembodied voice?